All right, Brandon with Davidson Audio, and today we have a busy day at the shop, but we want to take the time and go over something that y'all keep on asking about, and we did a kind of a poor job on in the original video, was our upgraded ground. I know before the lighting wasn't very good. I was trying to use the GoPro on my head and everything, and it just wasn't working. So we've got Bill behind the camera today to help get a better angle on it. We're going to throw some more light on it so y'all can see, because we're having a couple of questions and a couple of issues of how to install your upgraded ground on the Indian Challengers. So here we obviously have a 2021 Indian Challenger. We're doing a dual amp 6-speaker build on it. So we've got in the bags, we've got our 8-inch mid bass here with our Nagy rings. We got the 8-inch mid bass or 6.5-inch mid bass in the lids, some 6.5s in the fairing, and then over here this will be another build we're going to do a whole video on. This is a wiring rescue / build it better than it was. Speakers up front, we're going to have some speakers in the lids, and then the Cicada 10-inch mid bass on the Nagy rings. This one is a 2017 or 18 Indian Chieftain, so that's gonna be a different video, but this video, let's get this ground installed. Down here on the clutch side of the bike, we have the radiator fan cover here. We're gonna remove this, and then the ground bolt we're trying to get to is on the brake side of the bike, but it's best to come from the clutch side of it. So first, let's just talk about the tools we're gonna need. First, this is just a panel removal tool. There's a bunch of different styles, so you can use a flathead. It's just easier to use these. We have 2 different style 1/4-inch drive ratchets. This will depend on what extensions you have and what sockets you have. We like the 1/4-inch, the bigger and the smaller ones. We have a whole variety of extensions, from standard extensions to extensions with the wobble heads. And what's most important is you're gonna need a 5mm Allen here with a socket drive. I like to do this in a 1/4-inch drive because it's a smaller extension, allows you to get in there better. And then we like to use this 1/4-inch extension swivel here. And the reason we put tape on here, which is actually a recommendation from Bill behind the camera once again, is because it still allows it to move a little bit, but it puts more tension on it. So you're not trying to go in there and it just like flop over and fall over. So this really helps us to get in there, put pressure on it and angle it up to get that right angle. So this is really key to getting this in here. It's such a bad angle, it's all the way across the engine, but upgraded grounds are super essential. So let's start by getting this radiator fan cover off, and then we'll show you exactly where we're going to, and then we'll get it off. These clips, if you're not familiar, it's got an inner piece and an outer piece. So you want to pop this center piece out. You don't have to pull it all the way out. Just pull it till you feel a retention clip. And then, okay, we're gonna pull the whole thing out. And then you can take this part out. So the biggest thing with these is you can see it's slotted, so it only goes in one way. And what happens is you're able to push this through, and then the retention clip goes through, or the pin opens it up and wedges your piece in there. So that's what holds this in there. There's 2 of them, one located up here and one right down here. Once these are removed, just go ahead, pull this right off. What I like to do now is, just so that way it's not getting lost, I put them back inside of this just so that way we don't misplace them or lose them. So we're gonna set this aside. Now, disregard this wire. I don't know what that's for, his power commander or something. So what we're looking at here, this is from the clutch side. This is the bottom radiator hose. This is the radiator fan itself. So all the way down here, right here, is a solo Allen bolt just holding this Adele clamp. Again, this is not the Allen bolt that holds the OEM ground. This is the OEM ground here, which is on its own bolt. Do not remove this. You need to leave the OEM ground here. We are simply adding an additional ground here to help the current for the additional equipment that we're adding. So again, do not take off this OEM ground. Do not touch it. Do not do anything with this bolt. Leave this alone. The only thing I would recommend doing is you can slightly take the wire and bend it down to get more clearance here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our extensions together and we're gonna take this off. Again, this is a 5mm Allen bolt. So let's go ahead, get this popped off, and then I'll show you the easiest way to get the new one put back on. All right, so right here you can see this nice contraption, 1/4-inch drive. We got a long extension, a medium one, our swivel here, and our 5mm. I'm gonna end up buying some more longer extensions for stuff like this, but this works and does the job. So we'll zoom back in here. So right here, we're gonna fish it all the way across. And this is kind of where you gotta play the game of angling it to get it right. And just like, all right, so we've got it in, and then you're gonna push down so we can get that other ground out of the way, and you'll see it seated right there. And then we're gonna, just like that, which now we can pull this off. We'll put a bigger extension on it, and then we'll just unthread it. But what we're doing here is, as you can see, I'm keeping downward pressure on the swivel to even out, to make sure that the Allen is straight, which now we're gonna go back to the small ratchet. Can you see? Just keep that downward pressure on it, because you always want to go in straight. You don't want to risk cross-threading it or anything. So you're gonna get it, and most likely this is gonna fall out. Just use a magnet to get it. Sometimes it'll come out with the Allen, but it's not very likely. So right there, we're gonna, now comes the fun part, putting our upgraded ground on. One thing that Bill and I found out is we're gonna be sending these now with a 90-degree bend. If you have one and it's got 2 straights, just put this in a vise or a pair of channel locks or something. Pull it here up to this flat spot here, hold on to it and just bend this. It's copper, it will bend. But what we like to do is we will actually put it in just like this. Then, which this extension's not gonna work, it's got the swivel, so we're going 3 extensions on this sucker. So what we like to do, and I like to start this by hand because it is super easy to cross thread, which I know Bill's had that experience. He started cross threading one on an accident, and luckily we got a little bit of a tap in there, cleaned it up, and it went in. So I don't say that to call him out. I say it because it's super easy. If you're not paying attention, like, oh, there's a little resistance, I'll throw a socket on it. Then you go cross threading it, and if you can see where that's at, that is not an easy spot to get a tap in there. Especially most taps are 3/8 drive. So imagine trying to get a 3/8 drive extension all the way in there to get a tap in there. So just be very cautious. We're gonna leave the Adele clamp on it as it is. We're just gonna add on top of it, tighten everything up, and then we will be good to go. So the biggest thing, like I said, is hopefully we can get a good angle of this, is we're gonna kind of hold it like this and use the wire to help guide us in there. And then from there, we'll use the ratchet. So right there, we've landed it. I'm not too worried at this point about the orientation of the wire. What I'm worried about is getting the screw started. As you can see right here, you got a good angle, Bill? I'm tightening it by hand pretty much all the way in there. That's a good sign that it's not cross-threaded. And at this point, all I'm gonna use the ratchet for is to torque it. So that's where you wanna be at. Don't like, oh, I think I got 2 threads, I'm gonna ratchet. Don't do that, because you will cross-thread this sucker. So the biggest thing I like to do is orient it like that. And the reason that is if you look up here, this is flat like this now, which will make it easier for us to S-bend to the top of the battery, or depending on if you're going to the top post or the side post, you can put a slight bend in this to get around. So usually what I'll do is I won't fully tighten this until I'm done with the battery, so that way I can still manipulate this. Or you can just go ahead and tighten it now so you don't forget, because it is very crucial that you make sure this is fully torqued down, or else you have a loose connection, it'll cause a spark, and you will not have a good solid ground. Solid grounds are one of the most important things in an audio system, next to just having proper wire for power and ground and speaker wire. Like, I cannot stress enough how important it is to install proper grounds. So for this purpose, we're just gonna go ahead and torque it down. Like I said, keep down pressure on this helps keep it straight into the ground. And just like that, boom, that's all she wrote. So this point, we would just fish it down here, and then we would be able to, like I said, you can S it back here. It's not gonna hurt anything. It's not gonna get ruined. And then we would, over here at the front of the bike, you can see it right here. We'll be able to land it on the battery. And this one, we were gonna try to go to the top post, but if not, if we need to go to the front post, what I'll do is I'll bend this at a 90, bring it around the top and screw it in from the front or from the side here. So that's where I was saying, sometimes it's beneficial leaving that bolt loose so that way you have more play with this. So like I said, I just wanted to take that opportunity to get a much better detailed video of putting this upgraded ground. This is something that we're gonna offer just as the ground wire. So like if you're not wanting to do an audio system, say maybe you're like, hey, I just wanna do the starter wire that we offer, and I just wanna upgrade my ground for peace of mind, we're just gonna offer it. So I wanted to take a second to show more in detail how to install that on your bike. So by no means is this like 100% an install video. This is to help guide you if you decide to do this. So again, I cannot stress how important grounds are on any vehicle, any motorcycle. Without a solid ground, your bike doesn't start, you're gonna run into issues, and possibly you could burn something down. Grounds are super, super, super important. So make sure, one, do not remove that OEM 8-gauge ground. That is there for a reason. We are simply adding an additional 4-gauge ground to this bike. So by no means, do not touch, I cannot stress enough, do not touch the OEM ground that's below where we put our additional. Leave that on there. If you have a shop installing this, make sure you tell them this is not to replace that ground, but simply add an additional 4-gauge ground, because as we add more stuff to the bike, you need more ground. So with that, this video is a wrap. I hope it helps you all, if you're installing this audio package yourself, to install this ground in more detail. So again, Brandon with Davidson Audio here in Panama City, Florida. Come on and see us.